Turning Things Around is a collection of the last three American Girl Kit books. Sometimes a Kit Classic and Volume 2 are added to the book's title. If you saw my review for the first volume of the two-volume set, you can probably guess what I'm going to say. There's two different versions of this book. The 2014 version has no illustrations at all. I thought that was a shame because I liked the illustrations, especially the full-page illustrations. The 2020 version of the book has some of the illustrations, not all of them, some of them. It makes room for the illustrations by abridging the text. A lot of the scenes were removed, chapters were combined and renamed. I don't know which version of the book I would recommend. It seems like it's a choice between having illustrations and having the complete stories. I don't think these three Kit books work together as well as the first three Kit books did. The first three books mainly focused on the same characters. This set of three books doesn't. Book 4 mainly focuses on Aunt Millie, Book 5 focuses mainly on Will, neither of them appear in Book 6. Also, the first three books took place in the same 3-month time period. These books are farther apart. Unless my math is wrong, they take place 5 months later, 3 months later, and 15 months later. These time jumps are a bit more noticeable when you put all the books together back to back to back. They did add some transitional paragraphs to chapters 5 and 9 to make the time jumps less jarring. I've already reviewed these three Kit books separately. The rest of this video will be those three reviews combined together. I hope you enjoy them! This book is labeled as 1934, which can't be right. Last book was December, this one is spring. It should be the next year.
Argo Font Book Review, Argo Font Book Review.
Aunt Millie arrives unexpectedly from Kentucky. She's less of an aunt and more of a grandma because she adopted Dad as a boy. Aunt Millie's a lot of fun. She's energetic, uses the most Jim Dandy expressions, and likes to quote Shakespeare. Aunt Millie lost her job and home when the local mine closed. She's decided to visit her relatives for a while before moving in with her friend. Aunt Millie wakes Kit up early to collect dandelion greens for salad. She and the boys start a vegetable garden in the yard. Mother is not so sure about growing food where everyone can see it. Aunt Millie can find a use for anything, like making an old flour sack into a dress. She makes clothes and sheets last longer by sewing them in a special way. Kit and her friends are so impressed they make an almanac out of Aunt Millie's frugal ideas. Aunt Millie charms the ragman by giving apples to his horse. She chats with the butcher for a long time in order to get a good discount on food. I'm kind of jealous this works. The stores and restaurants near me never change their prices, no matter how nice I am to the cashier. Aunt Millie shows if you go grocery shopping on Saturday night, you get a large discount on all the food that's about to expire. Kit likes saving money, but she feels embarrassed that everyone in the store knows they're too poor to pay full price. Aunt Millie buys a bunch of chickens, which is kind of rude. She should have asked Mother and Dad first. I'd be really mad if a house guest showed up with livestock for me to take care of. Kit likes selling the chicken eggs, but again, she feels embarrassed when people recognize her. Kit finds a sad-looking dog. The sign on the dog's neck says, "Can't feed her anymore." Kit brings the dog home. The dog runs wild and chases the chickens, utterly ruining Mother's garden party. They ironically name the dog Grace. Aunt Millie shows up at Kit's school, looking kinda silly. She invites all the kids to Kit's penny-pinching birthday party. The other kids laugh so much, Kit's embarrassed. She wishes Aunt Millie had never come. Aunt Millie takes the statement the wrong way and decides to go back home. The Kittredges rush to the train station to stop her from leaving. Aunt Millie decides to stay, after seeing Kit's Waste Not, Want Not almanac. Kit's birthday party is a lot of fun, and the kids like Aunt Millie's penny pinching lessons best of all. The end. Post-book follow-up. This is basically an Aunt Millie book. No offense to Kit, but Aunt Millie stole the show. It feels more educational than the other books in the series because Kit's learning a lot of different things. They were interesting things too. It's interesting to see the various ways people saved money and reused items back in 1934. Several of them are good ideas that still work today, almost 100 years later. Others, not so much. I've never heard of a ragman before. I wish there had been more of Mother in this book. Mother was definitely unhappy at certain points because her mother-in-law basically took over the house. I would have liked seeing that subplot get fully fleshed out, although I understand it didn't because Kit is the main character, not Mother. I'd also like to know how Mother married Dad, if she was a rich girl in Cincinnati and he grew up as a poor orphan in Kentucky. Overall, it was a good book. I didn't care much for Grace the dog, but other readers loved her. All the reviews were like, Grace is amazing, Grace is fantastic, Grace is in like one scene. Calm down, readers. I'm impressed at how every book in this series manages to feel fresh, even though every book has been about the Great Depression and the struggle to survive on as little money as possible. I give Happy Birthday, Kit, a springtime story, a thumbs up. Kit's fifth book is a summer book. That surprised me because books 1 through 3 were October, November, December. Suddenly now it's August and Charlie's been away for 3 months? Talk about a big jump forward in time.
Argo Font Book Review. Argo Font Book Review.
Kit is annoyed she has to do chores instead of fun things. Who is she, Cinderella? A friendly 15-year-old named Texas Will arrives. He's a hobo. He travels all over the country on freight trains looking for work. For example, he offers to help pick the vegetables in exchange for some food. Will is so nice that Aunt Millie gives him a haircut, and the family lets him work a second day. Will talks about how he became a hobo. Sort of like Sterling's father, he ran away from his family to make it easier for them to find food. He demonstrates hobo sign language and talks a little about the jungle, which is the name for the hobo camp near the railroad tracks. Kit and Sterling get permission to visit the jungle and give Will some extra food. Kit is unhappy to learn the hobo camp is worse than she thought it would be. Will chose to be a hobo, but a lot of people didn't choose. Kit is especially sad to see a woman with 3 starving children. Very few people here have proper shoes. A pushy braggart named Lex shows up. He says he'll teach them how to jump onto a moving train. Will isn't so sure, but Kit thinks it'll be an adventure. She has to do it. Sterling insists on coming along. Both Sterling and Kit need help getting inside the moving boxcar. Kit feels great for a moment, but then things go south. Literally, they're going south to Kentucky, not north to Cincinnati. To make things worse, the train stops suddenly, and they're picked up by railroad bulls. Those are armed men who are hired by railroads to catch bums and empty boxcars. They're forcefully pulled out of the train and sent to jail in Spencerville for the night. Kit tries telling the sheriff that she's not a hobo, she actually lives here. The sheriff doesn't believe her, and when he realizes she's a girl, he moves her to a different jail cell. Sterling shows Kit the hobo sign for pretend to be sick, so she fakes stomach pains. The sheriff lets her go to the bathroom, which has a small window. Kit escapes through the window, runs past the guards, and makes it to a railroad bridge. I have to wonder if Sterling knew about the window in the bathroom. He couldn't have known about it because he didn't go to the bathroom himself, but if he didn't know about it, why did he tell Kit to fake being sick? Kit makes the scary and dangerous journey across the bridge in the dark. A narrow catwalk is the only walkway. When a train comes, Kit is forced to lie down and hug the ground so she won't be hurt. Kit rushes home and tells the adults what happened. They go to the jail, where Dad gets Will and Sterling out. Kit tells off the sheriff for being so mean to the poor hobos. Careful, Kit. You probably shouldn't antagonize the angry man who makes questionable arrests. The story ends here. I have a hard time believing that Kit doesn't get in trouble for what she did. She's a fourth grader who got herself and her friend in jail. And her only punishment is a mild lecture on using poor judgment? If I was her dad, she would be grounded until the Great Depression ends. The end. Post-book follow-up. While this is an exciting story, it seems a little out of character for Kit. She makes some bad decisions, because if she had made sensible choices, the story wouldn't have happened. I assume that's why Ruthie was not in this book. No way would Ruthie have gone along with the plan to jump into a moving boxcar. The book tries to justify Kit's bad decisions by emphasizing how bored she is at the start. Like a Disney princess, she complains about how she wants adventure in the great wilds somewhere. I didn't think that was a good enough motivation for her to try the hobo life. That's a far cry from her horror that her dad went to a soup kitchen in book 2. I guess I'm saying it's good she saved the day, but it's bad she ruined the day to begin with. Overall, I'd say this is a good book. I like the educational stuff about hobos, and there's definitely a 1930s Nancy Drew vibe to 1930s Kit facing dangers. I just wish there was a better justification for why Kit got into danger in the first place. I give Kit Saves the Day, a summer story, a thumbs up. I complained that the last book jumped ahead in time too much, but that was only a 3-month jump. This book jumps ahead in time 15 months, which is exactly 2 years after the first book. And yet all the books have 1934 on the cover. I don't get it.
Argofont Book Review, Argofont Book Review.
Kit's mother surprises her with a new outfit. It's not really new, it's Dad's old coat, which they refurbished for her. I don't need to check the internet to know they made a doll out of this new outfit. Kit and her friends visit a soup kitchen so they can give her old coat to a child in need. Kit's heart hurts to see so many people in such distress. Mean Uncle Hendrik breaks his ankle and wrist. He comes to live with the family for a while. He spends most of his time bossing Kit around and writing complaint letters to the newspaper. I don't like the president. I don't like hobos. I don't like anything except my dog. A hospital is being turned into a home for transients and unemployed. Uncle Hendrik thinks that's a bad idea, which only encourages hobos to mooch off of others for charity. Kit openly disagrees. She thinks it's a great idea to help other people who are down on their luck. They get into an argument. Kit feels discouraged by Uncle Hendrik's angry words about hope. She gets out her frustrations by writing a letter to the newspaper. It's a proper letter that follows all of Uncle Hendrik's rules. It's direct, signed, and under 250 words. Kit and her friends take pictures at the soup kitchen to go along with her letter. Uncle Hendrik makes a huge fuss when her letter's published in the newspaper. He's mad, while everyone else is proud of Kit. Thousands of people read Kit's letter and see her photos. As a result, there is a large increase in donations to the soup kitchen. The newspaper editor says her letter was so good, he wants to see her write more. The end. Post-book follow-up. I think this book does an adequate job as the finale to the Kit series. It brings in various elements from the previous books, especially book number 3. There are some things that I wish got more resolution, like the story of Dad getting a new job. And Charlie! He said one sentence in this book. I wanted him to get a bigger send-off. Also, Mrs. Howard, she's in the character list for every book, which made me think she would be more important to the series than she actually is. The resolution was heartfelt. You can tell that Kit really cares about other people, and she was affected by how close her family came to being homeless multiple times. You can also feel her love of writing, which makes it very appropriate that she saves the day by writing a newspaper article. In fact, I'd say the main character likes writing was done better here than in some of the Mallory books of the Babysitter's Club series. Some people think Uncle Hendrik was secretly teaching Kit how to write newspaper editorials, but I disagree. He disparaged her pretend newspaper so much, I don't think he had any interest in helping her. Throughout the entire series, I have enjoyed the educational material at the end of each book, which were done by a different author. The educational material here points out that Kit would have been 18 when America entered World War II. It would be cool if adult Kit was in the American Girl Molly books. I know she's not, but that would have been so cool. Overall, I like this book. It does a good job of finishing the series. I like how it's simple and realistic. I'm sure Kit and her family will make it through the Great Depression okay, although there are sure to be many bumps along the way. I give Changes for Kit, a winter story, a thumbs up.